Louise Bours.
Well, the question was about, obviously, the £9 minimum wage, because obviously they're calling it the living wage, but actually what it is just another fancy word for the minimum wage. And maybe what would have been an interesting thing to try would be, why not, instead of waiting to 2020, why not maybe bring that minimum wage in now, which would then naturally take people out of the tax credit system, because they'd be earning more money. So that would maybe have been an interesting proposition.
Is your view that business could have supported that?
The actual principle is, it isn't up to government and the public purse to support the profits of businesses, you know, by paying tax credits. That principle is sound. But what they've done is they've not taken it from those, you know, the high-end earners. What they basically, no, because what you've done is those who are not working and claiming tax credits can keep the tax credits, and they've taken the tax credits from those who are actually working, in work, actually trying to better themselves, people who need that money to be able to feed their families. That's what they've done. And, you know, it was also a really good tool, tax credit system, for social mobility, I tell you, because before I was elected last year, I was a student. I was a mature student. I decided to go back to university to get a degree because I wanted a better life for my two daughters. I'm a single mum. I wanted a better life for my two daughters. Now, I worked 2 days a week and went to university 3 days a week. Without tax credits, I couldn't have fed my two daughters. I couldn't have got to university. Through that system, I was able to better myself and find myself in the position that I am today. What they're doing is taking it off the wrong people. The people who are on tax credits, who are working, need that money.
So
okay?
Let me get this absolutely clear. UKIP believe in keeping tax credits. Is that right? How would you reduce the benefit bill in that case? Well, do you want me to tell you why? 12 billion in welfare cut. Do you know where we should start? Maybe we should start in foreign aid, maybe. 12 billion goes out of this country. That's not the question I asked you.
Well, I'm telling you.
No, that wasn't the question.
The question you asked me.
Sorry, my question was about welfare. I said, how would you cut the benefit bill in this country? This is a system, the benefit bill. We are
paying out in international aid, okay,
That's
international welfare.
That's
12,
different.
but it's not. £12 billion every year in international aid. Now, we're not saying don't bring in spurious arguments and the emotional blackmail. You know, things like water programmes, inoculations, they're the kind of things that our international aid should pay for.
All right, fine. Let's
12 billion when we're having 12 billion in welfare cuts to the poorest in this country is not right.
I'm getting the woman up there. Wages and the tax credit cuts. The second one was about students, and the question came from Amy Tunnicliffe, who's a student nurse. Can we have your question, Amy, please?
Is the scrapping of maintenance grants the death knell of social mobility in the UK for this generation?
Is the scrapping of the maintenance grants for students? And just to make the point clear, poorer students were entitled to just over £3,300 as a gift, and it's now been turned into, they won't have it as a gift, it will come as a loan, so they have to borrow more money to go to university. Louise Bours.
Yeah, I think so, yes. I've just had
you think it's the death knell of social mobility?
Yeah, because I've just had my student loan bill land on my doormat, £27,000 from the degree that I finished last year, £27,000. There's no way that we should be attacking those kids who are going to university and taking away something that...
But can you surely afford to pay it yourself, because you're an MEP. You've got...
well, I've got to pay mine, obviously, now, which is fair enough. So I earn more over the threshold, so I absolutely will...
How much do you have to earn before you start repaying?
I think it's 24,000, 20, something like that, before you start to pay. Right. So 21,000, sorry. Yeah, 21,000. But we've got, you know, in order... I don't think anybody should have to pay to go to university, but we have to look at this ridiculous... Well, actually, Labour started it with this ridiculous target of 50% of all people should go to university. You know, we now have too many courses, too many, you know, ridiculous, not David Beckham studies and things like that.
Do you want them to go to university or not go to university? I don't understand.
You know what, some people shouldn't.
Too many are going...
Hang on, the question was asked by a student nurse. I don't believe nurses should be at university. I believe that nurses should be trained on the wards.
Oh, right.
That's where I think they should be trained.
Well, let's go back to... All right, hang on.
think they should be trained, you know...
Let's go back... All right.
No, because... Hang on, can I just clarify?
No, let's go back to Amy and let her say... Let her just say...
They should be trained on the wards because it's a vocational...
We are trained on the wards. I'm currently on placement on a ward. I'm trained on a ward.
Hold on. Silence, please.
Amy.
Silence. Amy Tunnicliffe.
Yeah.
No, you listen to her for a moment.
I've just heard. Go on, Amy, say it again.
No, you listen to her.
I am trained on a ward. We all are. We all... and can I just say what I want to say? And what we have in theory is actually very good to put into practice on the ward, because without that, you'd be going in with completely eyes blind. You need that theory to put it into practice. It's all evidence-based. So obviously, coming from not someone who is a student nurse or gone into that profession, you might not understand why you need the theory.
Well, can I do it? The number of letters I have from student nurses and things like who say that to get on these courses in the first place, what they wanted to be was, say, what we had before with the old SEN. They wanted to work towards that qualification on the wards, and that's been taken away from them, OK? Now, there's going to be some people like yourself, Amy, who had the qualifications to get into university, will be a highly skilled nurse, but not all people are like that. And the one thing that I've been told over and over again is that nurses want to be trained on the wards as opposed to in university. No, it's not rubbish, Anna.
All right, well, hold on.
Absolute rubbish,
So
it's
not...
don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I should think I do.
Amy actually goes on the ward.
Well,
all the nurses and midwives
do you not be quiet?
have proper
Goodness me.
vocational training as part of their degree.
Goodness me. Of course we know that can I just finish up my point then? Because she's been quite aggravating.
I think you have spoken now for about 3 or 4 minutes. I think let somebody have a turn.
We know that,
no, let somebody else have a turn.
Should be on the ward.
Yes. All right.
That's what I think.
All right. Do you want to come in on this, Rachel? About students, this is about social mobility and whether the withdrawal of this just over £3,000...
Well, I just think it does slightly rub salt into the wound, because when I went to university, we were actually paid to go. I had maximum grant. Now, my daughter's leaving university next year with a debt of 46,000. I'm not complaining, you know, but other children will not have the same opportunities. They will not go to university because they do not want to leave saddled with £46,000 of debt. Of course. The Sutton Trust has already shown that people from poorer backgrounds are not even applying. I think this is regrettable. I do think university should be free at the point of delivery. It's also changed the experience of university. You know, we've got parents complaining when their children don't get 2 1s. It's become much more marketised. It's less about learning than it used to be. I think...
So your view is it should be free, the fees would be free, and the maintenance would be provided by the state as well?
I'm not against a means-tested contribution. For those who can afford to pay, they should pay. But I think that goes for a lot of things, including some aspects of the health service, for example.
All right.
But
hang on, Louise. Hang on, Louise, please, we've got to get round the table. Anna Soubry.
Look, when we introduced £9,000 of fees and the full loan system, with the exception of the maintenance grants for people from some of the most disadvantaged backgrounds. But it was said at the time that the number of young people going to university from disadvantaged backgrounds, because of course they still took a loan out to pay their fees, it was the maintenance side that attracted the grant. It was said that people from the most disadvantaged backgrounds would not go to university. And with respect, Rachel, actually the figures...
Discouraged. I think discouraged.
But the facts absolutely show that there are more young people from disadvantaged backgrounds going to university than ever before. So it didn't deter people from those backgrounds. And one of the reasons for that is the great work that the universities themselves have done. If they want to increase fees, there's a kind of deal that they do with the government, whereby they have to show the sort of schemes that I know that my universities of Nottingham Trent and Nottingham University do, where they positively go out, they encourage children from some of the most disadvantaged backgrounds to go into university, and it is working fabulously and successfully well.
Chukwumuna, do you agree with that? Chukwumuna, do you agree with the point that so far poorer students haven't been discouraged, and do you think this abolition of the maintenance... You, sir, and then the woman over there.
The people on the panel seem to have criticised the move to charge effectively students themselves when they get the benefit of the degrees, when they can afford it.
Yes.
And also the idea that some of that is paid by the taxpayer. If neither should pay for it, where does the money come from? Somebody has to pay for it. So...
Well, it's like, can I come in on that, David, please?
Do.
I mean, it's like we said, that the thing is, if we can streamline universities, if we can cut down the number of people going to universities, abolish these ridiculous degrees that are offered, you know, look at the gentleman at the back was absolutely right. If we have more of a model like they have in Germany, where universities, academic education is seen the same as vocational education, like engineering and all these kind of things that are so important for productivity, if we look at them both the same, so the academic excellence and vocational excellence it's parity, then it's that is not what is nonsense about having vocational courses given the same parity as
please,
academic
could I tell you what's the
qualifications?
nonsense?
I think that's acceptable.
Question from Derek Dooley, please.
Was Greece right to vote no in the recent referendum, showing 2 fingers to the EU?
Showing 2 fingers to the EU, was Greece right to vote no? I suppose, Louise Bours, you better start on this one.
Can I? Oh, thank you.
No.
Well, absolutely.
Not too long.
I'll try not. I'll be very quick. Absolutely, of course they were right to vote no. It was very interesting because just yesterday I was sitting in the European Parliament, the plenary session in Strasbourg, listening to the Prime Minister, the Greek Prime Minister, talk about what this had done to the people of Greece. And it was very interesting that listening to the President of the Commission and the Council, their attitude towards Mr Tsipras, you know, that they literally, they barracked him. A lot of the German MEPs booed him, barracked him. They told him that it didn't mean anything. The referendum, what the Greek people wanted and what they'd said in this referendum didn't mean anything. They had to forget it. It wasn't important. And I'm afraid that's the European Union all over, because what we've got in Greece at the moment is the ECB acting as Wonga, basically. The Wonga, the payday loans of the European banking system. And they've been lending payday loans to somebody who can't afford to pay the money back, has got no way of paying that money back, and has just got them deeper and deeper and deeper into debt until, unfortunately, we're now in a position where a country in Europe has literally collapsed. You know, they're talking...
You just want them to get out, in effect,
I mean, I think the only thing that they can do, and, you know, monetary union was never going to work, ever. Ever. You know, it just wasn't. It's a nonsense. Greece can do something. And what it can do, it can drop out of the Eurozone, it can go back to the drachma, it can devalue its currency, it can set its own interest rates, get its imports and exports moving. And there might be pain for a few months, but you know what? After that, the economy will flourish, because all they're interested in is propping up the currency. These loans aren't going to the Greek people. 17.5 billion, Spiros made absolutely clear. The Greek people haven't seen that. That's just been seen by the banks, the French and German banks who are propping up the system.
Thank you.
Something is rotten.
Thank you. Rachel Johnson.
Louise is right. This wasn't going to... They weren't voting for a bailout for Greece. They were you know, if they were... It's a bailout for the bankers again,
absolutely,
isn't
Rachel.
it?
You're right, absolutely.
And should they have voted no? I think they should have done, because it gives them a chance to reject whatever package of reforms. I don't know what's happened tonight, whether it's what episode we are on of deal or no deal. I think we probably still got no deal. But in a sense, I think that the best hope for Greece, which I very much hope remains a big part of the European Union, is that Tsipras is allowed to write down 30% of the debt. The bankers take the hit. Frankly, they've taken hits before. They can take the hit. I don't want to see Greek pensioners lying on benches, not being able to get their pensions out of cash points. That's far more important that that is sorted out than Germany and France gets its interest rate payment as it wants from the Greek treasury. So, Louise is right. Greece should be allowed to spin out of the euro. It's not going to crash the continent. Greece will come back. It will be fine.
Tommy Shepherd.
One of the most interesting things I've read recently in this whole thing was in 1953, there was an international convention in Geneva where European countries got together and voted on a debt relief package for Germany. And one of the signatories to that was the Greek government at that time. And I really think, I never thought I'd find myself agreeing with the UKIP spokesperson, but I think she's right in one respect, in that the European Union, I would consider myself a liberal-minded person who believes in the European Union, but I think that the European Union has not covered itself in glory in the way it's treated Greece in recent months. Okay. And the ECB and other lenders have been behaving almost like global loan sharks. And she's right also to say that more than 90% of all the money given to the Greek government in the last 5 years has been used to pay and to bail out banks, many of them foreign banks in other European countries. It has not been spent on supporting the people of Greece. So the vote, I think, last Sunday was not a vote to come out of Europe. It was a vote to try and say, please respect the situation that we have here. Please give us a better deal. Please show some compassion. And I hope that the European Union will do that even at this 11th hour.
Who shouted out from up there? Was it you? Louise Bours, you have 30 seconds.
OK, well, I mean, obviously, we were devastated when Chuka drew out of the race because, obviously, as UKIP, Labour voters flocking to us across the north of England, we couldn't wait to see Chuka sitting in a working men's club drinking a pint of stout. And we would have really looked forward to that. So we were devastated. That, you know, they know they're in trouble. Our 2020 strategy is taking on Labour across the north of England, and we came second in swathes of seats across northern England. This is where we belong. We are now the party of the working people. If Tommy thinks the SNP are the party of the working people, look at that now. You know, that's where you can find now.
All right. Anna.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.